Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We often talk about glasses being either half full or half empty on this podcast. We've went through quite a few of those discussions, yes. Frank. I think without a shadow of a doubt, the glass is half full nowadays at Glasgow Celtic.
Well, I think the glass is overflowing, Tommy.
Overflowing, that's a good analogy, brother. I'll accept that 100% because since we last had our wee podcast, wasn't as professional. Now that we've got our cameraman back, we've got a more professional podcast. The last one was a DIY, and although you're a tradesman, very good tradesman, I believe.
Is that right? I never knew that.
I'm not very good at the DIY stuff.
We know that.
But since our last meeting, we've had 4 victories, including an outstanding victory at Parkhead against the Rangers, 3-0 up at half-time, game over, and quite frankly, it was one of the most one-sided contests in Glasgow derbies than I can remember.
Well, I think, the supporters, what I love about the Celtic supporters, they give to Celtic all the time. They go out and work hard for their money and they keep giving to Celtic. And now we've got a manager who's buying the players, I think, now, which is really good. But that game, that was just wonderful, and the fans just loved it. No Rangers supporters in the park that day. I was a bit disappointed. I like to see Rangers supporters at Parkhead and Celtic supporters at Ibrox. I think that's a real Old Firm game. But anyway, it was fantastic. They came out and they went for it, and my goodness, scored great goals. A wee bit of luck with one of the goals, but if you're working hard, you always get that wee bit extra work. But what a day for the Celtic fans. They deserved that more than anybody else.
See, you've been a wee bit controversial, and I have to raise this with you, because if I don't, your boys will have a go at me.
Right, okay.
Paul's been on the podcast, and he's told me always to remind you, because when you talk about Old Firm, then really we have to remember 16th of February today, and then the 14th of February 2012, 10 years ago, that Rangers died. The old Rangers liquidated. So they became a new team called Sevco. We call them the Rangers. So Old Firm I don't particularly accept. I think we have to get that on record, because you have to have sanctions for cheating, and they cheated and they went into liquidation. So we have to get that on board. However, let's not take that away from the fact that we had a major rebuild. Celtic had a major rebuild this season. I can remember a couple of my blue-nosed pals saying to me at the start of the season, what's your realistic expectation? You've got a new man. What's your realistic expectation? I think you were there actually, the wee poker game, and there was some of them there and they were asking me what was my realistic expectation, and I says to win the title. And they were laughing.
And they were quite laughing. Rightly so, too.
Well, that's fair dues, but that was my expectation. I wanted somebody to come in, pick us up by the scruff of the neck and lead us to the title. Now, maybe I was being unrealistic. Maybe.
You were, there's no doubt about it.
But hope springs eternal, Frank. And we are now in a position. It's in our hands. If we want to win the title, it's up to us.
I agree with everything you've said, but you're wrong.
What respect?
Well, the first thing, Rangers fans have came to Parkhead, and Celtic fans, when I played at Ibrox, were there to support us at Ibrox, which is a very hostile stadium for Celtic players that have not played a lot in Old Firm games. And I think something that's worked for 120 years, why fix it?
Well, they're going to lose some fans back.
I'll let you talk, Tommy. I've got to say that it's worked for 120 years, and the Rangers supporters never done anything wrong, and the Rangers players never done anything wrong. If somebody done something wrong at Ibrox, they should have been taken up to court and let the court decide about it. So for me, if I want to play in an Old Firm game, I want both sets of fans at that game. I call that a real Old Firm game, so I have to disagree with you.
We're probably at cross purposes, because there's 2 different points. One is whether there should be opposing fans at these games, and the other is whether you call it the Old Firm. You and I disagree. You call it Old Firm. I say it's a derby because it's the Rangers against Celtic. We're not going to agree on that.
Well, agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Right, okay.
However, the idea of letting opposing fans into these games, I agree with you on that. Apparently, I read yesterday that there's going to be 800 fans allowed into each of the grounds. So 800 at Ibrox, 800 at Parkhead. Personally, I think that's too little. I think they should go back to the sections that they gave in the past. I think quite clearly the Rangers hierarchy were fed up with Celtic celebrating titles, won at Ibrox, and they didn't like it, so they changed the whole thing and they refused access to the fans. However, let's look at a step forward here. They're talking about 800 are going to be at the next 2 games. It's better than nothing, Frank. It's no great, but it's better than nothing.
It's garbage, so it is. Get back to the old way where the Celtic fans, if they were winning at Ibrox, they were singing to the Rangers fans and vice versa. Great atmosphere, brilliant to play in. It's just magical. I wouldn't like it if I went to Ibrox, it was just all Rangers fans there. I hate to say this again, Tommy, but the Old Firm games are the games that both sets of fans are supporting the club, and the two sets of directors should get together tomorrow, talk about it and say we're going back to the old way.
Yeah, but the truth is, Frank, you played in Old Firm games. You played when it was Rangers and Celtic.
I loved it.
The fact is, that team in 2012 went into liquidation, and there's a whole series of quotes that I can give you. 50 different quotes I saw the other day from different players, former managers, all making the point, it's a new club. A new club. That's what was formed in 2012. However, that's unimportant to us, because important to us is that we had a fantastic victory against the Rangers at Parkhead, 3-0. Have you seen a better Old Firm debut in terms of even your days than the wee guy Hatate had?
Oh, unbelievable. Well, I only scored 1 goal in my first game against Rangers. He scored 2, so that was magical for him. For me that night, I hadn't played well in the first 2 games. We had to play Rangers, and Rangers had 20,000 people at the game that night, and it was a brilliant atmosphere. And I scored the one away at 2 minutes to go. And that's the fastest I've ever ran to the jungle. I ran 50 metres in about 2 seconds to get to the jungle, and I just knelt down, and that was just magical.
That was you. That was
magical.
A superstar, just like Hatate now, quite clearly has endeared himself.
Oh yeah.
He scored. Let's face it. He made his debut against Hibs, and I was there. He never scored that night, but do you know what? When he received the ball, Frank, I just thought there was something special. That the boy's got, it's almost an arrogance on the ball, but it's an ease. He seems to have 2 or 3 moves ahead before he gets the ball. Great debut. He then goes to Tynecastle, scores an outstanding goal at Tynecastle. Fantastic. We then have a debut, and I said before the game, you'll recall this, I said, we had 2 guys who were making debuts who I thought would determine the outcome of the game. And that was the chap Matt O'Reilly, 21 years of age, and Hatate, who were going into a cauldron there. What an atmosphere there was in Parkhead. The Celtic fans were outstanding that night. And I thought to myself, if they 2 stand up to this atmosphere, we're going to win. But they could buckle in the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, quite easily.
And the truth is, they did stand up, and then both of them, you would have thought they were playing with for seasons instead of it being their second and third games. It was incredible, and I think Ange has managed to pull out the bag 2 superstars.
I think Ange, I have to say something about Ange that a lot of people might disagree with me about. I've watched all the managers since the 50s, and he's the closest I've seen to Jockstein. The way he goes about his business, the way he deals with the press, the way he's making a team. I've still not worked out what he's doing, but it doesn't really matter. It's brilliant. He's scoring a lot of goals. Celtic fans love that. They're going out and they tire a lot in the second half. It's because they put so much energy into the game under Ange's instructions, and they are playing outstandingly well, and in a few games they've not lost any goals, so that really pleases me. But it's going to take a long time for him to get the defence sorted out and get his team. You remember, he's only just been in the job, and now I can't believe what I'm going to say next. I wouldn't have said this all year. They've won one trophy already, and I think Celtic will win the league now because of one thing. They've got momentum, and that's the best thing. I don't know where momentum comes in or anything, but it's the best thing you can have. And I think it's going to come down to the two, sorry Tommy, Old Firm games. That will definitely come down to that. And but I just think what he's done over the last month has uplifted the Celtic fans.
I'm going to agree with you. It is going to come down to those two games, the two Glasgow derbies. It'll come down to those two games, undoubtedly, in my opinion. However, that point you made, clean sheet against Hibs, clean sheet against Motherwell, clean sheet against Rangers. These were important victories and important clean sheets. But what we've got now, which I think is the absolute key to the success that I think we can now embrace, is we now have a genuine pool of players. If you think of those games, Frank, St Mirren, you were there. I've seen you on St Mirren TV, and you were asked to commentate on the game with Ross County, St Johnstone. There was like 3-4 games towards the end of the year. We were down to the bare bones. We had benches that had nothing to bring on in an attacking sense. We just simply didn't have any oomph. We didn't have any initiative because so many of our players were injured.
That's right.
I think now you look at our bench and you can actually change the game, but we can actually bring on guys. If you looked at the Wraith Rovers game on Sunday, now okay, it's a lower league opposition, but let's face it, our first 45 minutes was poor. Yeah. And I think Ange was quite rightly, shouting expletives from the sideline, talking about stop going back the way. He wanted us to have more tempo and move the ball quicker, take less touches. Yeah. Brilliant. I love all that. But we change it in the second half. You bring on Jota. He
gets man of the match.
He was only on 45 minutes. Well, in fact, less than 45 minutes because Johnson, his injury, I thought he might have been hooked at half time, but he actually got at the start of the second half and then got injured. Jota comes on and he probably only played 35 minutes or 40 minutes and he got man of the match.
Yeah, well, he's a
special player.
He's an outstanding player, and that's what Celtic need. This Abada, he's been amazing. He scored goals when Celtic need them. That reminds me of Henrik Larsson. Anytime Celtic needed a goal in big games, European games, Henrik never let Celtic down. And this Abada, I'm not saying he's the same as Henrik Larsson.
No, I know
but he's scoring important goals.
Listen, I'm going to take my hat off to him. I'm going to put my hand up, and I don't think I'm the only Celtic fan who was probably a bit of a critic of him, and maybe overcritical. He came at 19 years of age, big club. He hit the ground running, scored in his debut, then went on to score several other goals, and I think we all thought, oh, he's a complete player. Then he went through a wee patch where, quite frankly, his cross balls were poor, his passing was poor, he never scored goals for a couple of games, and people like me were overcritical. I've got to say that. He's turned 20 now, and I'm now at the stage where I want him to have a starting berth. I thought Forrest would be starting and Abada would be the guy to come on for Forrest. Now I'm looking at the other way around. Now I'm saying to myself, no, start Abada, because that wee guy has ability to ghost into those areas, Frank, at the back post. He just seems to have been so well coached to know that as a wide player, when the ball's at the other side of the park, you have to get into that back post area. Yeah. The goal against the Rangers was, what the hell your man Barisic was doing as a full-back. He didn't know what was behind him.
That was embarrassing.
But the way he ghosted in was just phenomenal. And of course his goal against Dundee United, when it looked as though we were going to fall, we were going to falter, because that game was critical, because Ross County had taken a point off the Rangers that day, or 2 points off the Rangers that day, and it looked with minutes to go that we were going to fail to take advantage of it. And he pops up, I mean, his touch was phenomenal, puts it away, and gets us the 3 points. So I think you're right, that young boy Abada has been a revelation.
Yeah, it's, to get a player to score the goals the way he scored them, important goals that was needed. And I think the goal, who was it against Dundee United? I think that was a changing point, because Rangers lost a last minute goal and Celtic scored a last minute goal. That was a magical day. I was in the Old Birds pub that day. I love it. By the way, brilliant bar now, big screen, everything. I was in there with my boy Sean, and what a day that was. And I think that was the changing point of the season where Celtic took command.
Well, we talked about it last time, because what it did do, Frank, for the first time since we lost 3 out of our 6 games, remember, we had a bad start to the season, but for the first time since that bad start, we went into the Rangers game with the prospect that if we won, we went top of the league. It was in our hands.
That was amazing. I loved that.
It was in our hands, and we did it. And since then, we've negotiated a difficult trip to Motherwell. I think we were outstanding. I have to make this point to you from how good our manager is. You've just beat the Rangers 3-0. It was an outstanding performance. There was several men of the match. I mean, I know Hatate got it, and deservedly so, but you could have gave it to Juranovic, who I thought that night, to me, showed his class. No wonder he's the Croatian right back, because to me he is an international class player, and that night against the Rangers I thought he was outstanding. But here's the point, Frank. You're the manager, you've just had a fantastic result, you go to play Motherwell and you make 3 changes to the team. Well, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, he's brought in Rogic for the boy O'Reilly. The boy O'Reilly had an outstanding game. I'm thinking, oh, come on, Ange, what are you doing? Rogic has only scored 2 goals. That's why I'm on a podcast and Ange is the manager.
Exactly. Rogic maybe needed a rest, because when they drew with St Mirren, he was the only player in the Celtic team that night that could create a bit of magic, and it never came, and that's why Celtic drew 0-0 with St Mirren. But he's bought, and the thing that I'm happiest about, that I don't think the directors are buying the players now, or the guy at the top, whoever he might be. It's now the manager that's buying the players. He knows the players he wants for certain positions. He knows how they play. And by the way, they've all got good attitudes. They're all working all the time, scoring goals, making goals. And it's just a joy, an absolute joy to watch the team. But defensively, I think, still a wee bit to go there, maybe 2 or 3 years to build a good defence up, which he has to do if he wants to do well in Europe, because they lost 4-0 in a game at home. When did Celtic do that? So he's got to get that defence right. Once he gets that right and plays this lovely flowing football, Celtic fans are in for a treat.
Well, here's a wee bit of perspective. Since October, we've had 19 league games, and we've won 17 of them and drawn 2. Right, so we're unbeaten since October in the league. In fact, unbeaten domestically. So we're on a fantastic run, but we've got the best defensive record in the Scottish League.
Well, that's good.
And we're also scored more goals than any other team. So we're +8 as far as on top of the Rangers.
Well, that's an extra point. That's
the point. This is the point I'm going to make. And do you know what else, Frank? I think it's dead important we put something into perspective. That 4-0 game that you're talking about, when Bayer Leverkusen beat us at Parkhead. First of all, we had lots of chances that night and we didn't take them. But can I just make the point, everybody's going on about the Europa League games coming up, and how the Rangers have got Dortmund, and Dortmund are this big team, second in the Bundesliga and everything else. 2 weeks ago, Bayer Leverkusen went to Dortmund, beat them 5-2 at Dortmund's place. 5-2, slaughtered them, right? So Bayer Leverkusen are no mugs. They're a good team. And we went over there, if you remember, and narrowly got beat 3-2. We were winning 2-1 with minutes to go, and nearly had a fantastic result. If Beaton hadn't got injured that night, I think we would have won. So, in perspective, although we've had these losses, there's always been nuggets of optimism within these losses. And now we're getting to a stage, Frank, where the Celtic, I think, have got a galaxy of talent that Angie's got available.
And it's pleasing to the eye as well. I don't want to go to a football game and the outside right passes the ball back to the centre half, to the full back, to the goalkeeper. That is not football, and the fans deserve better, and they are getting better. I've gave the board a wee bit of stick now and again, but I have to say to the board, to Celtic board, what a fantastic decision that was.
To bring in Ange.
To bring in Ange, and he is very down to earth, like all the Celtic fans. He speaks to them the way they want him to speak to them. He brings in the right players. He plays the right kind of football. I can't believe that I'm saying now that Celtic will win the league. I can't believe, if he'd have said to me at the start of the season, you'll be saying that at this time of the season, I would have said you were off your head. Well, I believe now Celtic will win the league.
I'm going to share your optimism. I think, I mean, this is maybe going too far, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think we're going to win a treble.
Well,
I think we're going. I really don't see who's going to beat us on our day. I don't think anybody's going to beat us.
I completely agree. I'm very happy you agreed with me there, Tommy. Don't often agree with you. Thank you for that. I think they'll win the treble as well.
You just Rangers, said that because I said that.
No. Well, thinking about it, who's going to beat them?
That's a good point.
Celtic beat Rangers 3-0 at half time, you know. And Rangers are not the team they were last year. They only lost 5 goals last year. And I found that amazing, really amazing. And they lost 3 goals against Ross County and then 3 goals in the first half. So a game and a half, they lost 6 goals. Mm-hmm. I find that amazing. And I think they've got quite a good manager. But the Old Firm, sorry about that, but the Old Firm games
going to be key.
Are going to decide. And Rangers have been heavily hit with Celtic's result on them, and they will come back fighting. There's
no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
The league, I think Celtic will win the league, but it's not completely over.
Well, look, let's try and wind up this podcast, episode 15. Let's wind it up with a wee analysis of the team that is available in our best 11 and why we think it's our best 11. Because to me, Ange's now got a new problem, and that is keeping everybody happy. Because whereas before he was down to the bare bones and he was lucky to get a team on the park, now he's got a galaxy of talent and he needs to keep the pool happy, because there's no way they can all play in every game. No, the way Ange plays, with the tempo that he plays and the exertions that he demands from his team. I mean, that's what I love about, we're playing Wraith Rovers, and he's absolutely going mental because he thinks the tempo's no good enough, we're taking too many touches. It's against these Rovers, but it's standards. It's all about standards. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He wants the team to maintain their standards. I love that. The guy, to me, is a phenomenon, and he is the best thing to happen to us for decades. So, we've got 6 fixtures coming up, 6 league fixtures coming up. We've got, obviously, the Bodo Blink games on Thursday, tomorrow night. But then we're at home to Dundee. We're away to Hibs. Then we're at home to St Mirren, one of your old teams. Then we're away to Livingston. Bit of banana skin so far this season.
Celtic are changing for the better. I think Celtic and Rangers will win all their games up to the next Old Firm game.
Right, well, that's interesting. It's just that Livingston have been a bit of banana skin. We lost away. They took a point at Parkhead. That surface is a leveller. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We're then at home to Ross County. We're away to Rangers. And then we're at home to St Johnstone before, and that's the fixtures before the split is decided, the top 6. And out of all those games, Frank, obviously away to the Rangers is going to be a tough game with a big crowd and everything. But isn't it wonderful that if we win all the other games, we can afford to go into that game not even needing to win? Because if we drew, then we would still maintain our 1 point lead. And even if we lost, and I don't think we will, but even if we did, we know that in the final fixture at Parkhead, we can rectify that by beating them and winning the league.
Yeah, that's great what you said there, and I think most of that will happen. But football's a funny game. You have, like say, Celtic went into St Mirren, couldn't score a goal, and now they're scoring goals for fun, and they're just. I just think this Celtic team just now is an absolute joy to watch. And as I said earlier on, I think this guy's the closest to Jockstein that I've ever seen any Celtic manager. And my biggest worry, I'm maybe going a bit far, is the English clubs will be coming up to Scotland to see how Celtic are playing. I watch a lot of the English games, and I think English football is the top football in the world just now because they've all got the best managers, but we've got one of the best managers in the world right now.
That's a fantastic accolade to pay Ange, and you know what? I don't think it's an accolade that he doesn't deserve. I think there's work to be done, but he's already got tremendous experience at an international level and at a strong league level. But what he's done to our club so far, I think, has been tremendous. I think he's embraced the fans. He's embraced our tradition. The fact his own immigrant background, I think, has managed to marry and well together with the Celtic fan base in a way that I think at the start of the season we just didn't think was possible.
Can I just say one thing, Tommy? The most important thing to me for any team is for that team to be a team. When I played for Celtic, we had great laughter. We used to go out and play brilliant football, score a lot of goals. As a team, we never defended as well as we could have. But I think what Angie is doing is he's making the players play like a team, not like a bunch of individuals. I watched PSG last night, and they had Messi and all the best players in the world. So I think they would have slaughtered Real Madrid, and they got a last-minute goal to win the game. And for me, they're not playing as a team, where this Celtic team is playing like a team, and that's why I think they won the league.
Okay, final wee contribution then before we wind up. What is your starting 11? I'll give you mine first, and then you right. Can tell me whether you agree. So Big Joe, outstanding.
Outstanding, I agree.
Fantastic.
Right, I'll say the second one, then
okay.
You say third
all
one.
Right.
Juranovic, right back, outstanding.
I think he's international class.
Yeah, right. You go next.
One of my favourite players now, maybe because I used to play this position at the back, Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Outstanding.
I just think he's so steady.
But what I would like to see is one of the defenders at the back organising the defence and getting and covering each other. That's very important for defenders. Now, he's got to get a guy that's got to be in charge of that defence, tell them what to do in the park. I always remember playing against Willie Miller at Aberdeen. He was a brilliant sweeper, and he done that. That's why they won a European trophy, because of him, not because of the forwards, because they never lost any goals. So I would like Vickers to try and.
But we've agreed Juranovic,
right.
We've agreed Vickers.
Right.
Are you taking the next selection? This is just to help Ange out in case he's ever struggling. We know you don't struggle, Ange. It's just
a player that I didn't think was that good, Taylor, but I think.
Oh no! You need to, unless you're playing Taylor as a second centre back.
No, I'm playing him left back.
Well, give me your second centre back then.
I would like to see Julian come back.
See, this is where we're going to disagree.
I'd like to see.
This is where we're going to disagree, because I think Starfelt. I know he's had lots of criticism from the fans, some of it very justified, but personally I think he has begun to prove why Ange brought him in, why he paid over £4 million for him. I think he's very relaxed on the ball. I think he reads the game well. I think he tackles strong. We very rarely loses in the air. I think Julian being back is great backup, as is Stephen Welsh. But in my starting 11, I'm going with Starfelt instead of Julian. Are you going with Julian?
No, I'm going to go with Starfelt because Julian's injured just now. So I'm going to go for Starfelt.
Really, he's available.
No, he's available, but he's just coming back for injury. But I think what you said there is great, that Julian is coming back. So it's putting all the defenders under pressure to play better, and that's great for the team.
Right, but we're agreed that Starfelt starts.
Yeah.
But we're also agreed that Julian's fit.
He's coming back from injury. You get guys that get an injury and then they come back and get injured again. He might be injury prone. Just look at Forrest; he's been injury prone over the years. And Kyogo, my favourite player at Parkhead, he's injury prone. If you're injury prone, you're not good.
Okay, well, left back. Do you know what?
I know you're going to agree.
Well, I'm a big Scales fan. I like Liam Scales. I think the boy deserves a chance. And if push comes to shove, I'm going to say that I think Greg Taylor has played better than I expected last few games. I think Greg can be suspect. I think his height lets him down when it comes to cross balls. I think his distribution, his final ball, lets him down as well. But as a defender, a tackler, aggressive, I think against the Rangers and the other games that he's played, he's done well. But how does the boy Scales get the experience that's required unless we play him? And I think so far he has shown that he's got qualities that Greg doesn't have. I think his final ball's better. I think he offers you a goal threat, but I also think his physicality is important.
Right, okay.
So I'm going to go for Scales.
Right, you're going for Scales. Me and Angie are going for Taylor.
Okay, right, well, so that's fine. You might be right.
No, I'm telling you the truth.
Okay, let's go for a 3 in the middle. Who's a 3 across the middle?
Well, I like McGregor. He's been at Parkhead for a long time. He's a very down-to-earth player. He works hard. He can score goals.
But is he your sitting midfielder or is he left of the 3?
I would like him to go. He's got the energy to get. I would like him to play the way Scott Brown played, just sit in the midfield and organise the midfield from there.
I agree with you, and the reason I had to ask you is because obviously he's flexible enough that if you were ever want to change things up, you could bring Beaton on or McCarthy on and play them as a sitting midfielder, or the boy Gucci who's been brought in January. They're all sitting midfielders defending the defence, and McGregor could go and create things. But personally, I don't know, I think you agree with me, I like him as a sitting midfielder because I think what he gives is his tempo. I think he always looks forward when he gets the ball and he gets his attacking quicker. So we're going to agree, McGregor.
I'm under a state of shock just now. That's 6 times we've agreed with
Well, now we've got our 2 others in midfield, right? And there is a bit of debate here because we've now got choice, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm going to go Hatate. I think Hatate should play.
Yeah.
I think he offers us a lot of initiative, great energy, tracks back. I just love the wee guy. I think he's fantastic. But then there's a debate, isn't there? Because you've got O'Reilly, you've got Rogic. What one do you go for?
Well, if you're needing some magic in a game or someone to change a game, Rogic's your man. Maybe only play for an hour, but he can create that magic in that hour. I think he's up to 65 minutes now, I don't know. But he gives you a good hour's work, and if there's any magic, he'll give it. He scored 2 goals the other day, so that just proves... I'm
going to say about that one, I probably agree with you, Frank, but I'm going to say that I think there should be rotation. In other words, I think O'Reilly shouldn't always start on the bench. I think he should sometimes start in the lineup because 21 years of age, he's getting up to speed. He's been playing with MK Dons, so he's not as if he's not fit, but I think the type of game that Ange plays is a bigger demand, and he's maybe run out of steam a wee bit in some of the games. But I think the boy has got the potential to go to the very top. I see in that guy qualities that you see in like a Liam Brady or guys with that magical wand of a left foot. I think he's an outstanding player.
I think the midfield is very, as you said earlier on, it's very difficult to choose. But what I would like to see him is choosing that midfield and playing them all the time. There's nothing better than playing with the same players all the time, because then you get to know each other. You know what he's going to do, the next one's going to do. So whatever midfield it's going to be, I know you want to put names, but I think it's very hard for us to try and say that's the best midfield, because, you know, one player might help the other player and vice versa, and one player might not like the other player, and you've got to play as a team. So I think he'll be rotating them, and then he'll find out his best team, and then he'll get it from there. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to say.
Well, last few minutes, because this should be your strong card here.
Oh,
front three.
Right.
Now I know you like a front two, but Ange doesn't like that. So front three. Who's your front three?
I'm not. I like a front three.
Oh, do you like? I thought you said you want to play a front two.
No. I'll take front three all the time.
Okay then. Sorry.
The best form of defence, Thomas, is attack. Okay. So Jota is in my team, no problem. Giakoumakis will always be sub at best. I don't think most of the Celtic centre forwards over the last 130 years or whatever have been smaller players under 6 feet. Now, Giakoumakis has come in, he's had every chance to do well, he's had chances in front of goals and he's missed most of them. I don't think he's the man for up front. Definitely Jota wide. Kyogo, a fit Kyogo would be great for me. And you know,
right,
Abada scores goals. He's lurking about up front beside Kyogo if that was happening, and he scores important goals. That's why I like Abada, because he is there when Celtic need him.
I don't think I could agree with you again, Frank, but I actually disagree with some of your criticisms of big Giakoumakis. I would cut him more slack, is what I would say.
Okay.
I would cut him more slack. I think the guy has got lots of good things going for him other than just his physicality. However, a fit Kyogo always starts, as far as I'm concerned, through the middle.
He scores goals.
A fit Jota always starts left side, no doubt about it. There's maybe a wee bit more debate, but we've already went over it with Abada. I think he starts on the right-hand side. That then leaves you Dyson, Maeda and big Giakoumakis on your bench, and that gives us something that we've not had since the start of the season, and that is quality on the bench to bring on, because they two, I mean, particularly Maeda can come on and play through the middle, he can come on and play either side, either right or left. Fantastic option. You've also got Forrest, you've also got Giakoumakis. I think that gives you, you're starting 11, and it gives you a very, very strong bench.
I've always liked Forrest. He used to be a great crosser of the ball, he was a great player, but I don't think he'll be at Celtic long.
Well,
I like him, and he's done his bit at Parkhead, but he's injury prone, and you know, and he comes in, he's not playing his best because his injuries just coming in. So, you know, if I could sell him, I would sell him.
Well, I don't agree with you. I think we should keep him. I think he's...
Why? What's your reason for keeping him?
Because I think he offers his experience that we lack just now in the front three.
He's not in the park often enough to do that. Because he's injury prone.
But you see, the injury prone thing, we're finishing this podcast rather than starting it, so we can't really start a whole new debate. But I think if you check his injury record, you'll find that it's only in the last 2 or 3 seasons that he's picked up injuries. So in his first decade at Celtic, when he was popping them in for fun and making goal after goal, he wasn't injury prone. He's began to pick up some injuries. Maybe he's going to have to change his training regime. He's going to have to look after his body a wee bit better.
No, I don't agree with any of that. I'm sorry about that, Tommy. I know you've agreed with everything with me tonight, and I thank you for that. But I'll just tell you a quick story. When I went down to Liverpool, I said after I got on well with Bob Paisley, I'm the only guy to go for Paisley to Paisley, but you know that, but it doesn't matter. But I asked him, I said, why did you sign me for Liverpool? He said, Frank, you're never injured.
Okay. Well, he's maybe never injured, but he's sometimes wrong when it comes to Celtic stuff.
No, wait a minute. This is a guy that's won at least 2 European competitions. One of them.
No, it's you I'm talking about. I'm not talking about him.
No, I'm talking about him. I'm talking about a guy that's told me this. He's been one of the greatest managers in planet Earth. You know.
Bob Paisley's a good guy.
Bob
Good guy. There's no doubt about it.
And he told me that, and I don't.
But we're in good condition right now. We're in good fettle.
Oh, brilliant!
We're going forward. Brothers and sisters, I hope you've enjoyed episode 15 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We'll be back again soon, hopefully after having put Bodo Glint to the sword and picked up another 3 points at home to Dundee. All the best. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.